Hey everyone, Old School Pokemon here, back again with podcast episode number 6 with my co-host, Catch 'em All Collectibles, Dan. Always good to see you. How you doing tonight, Dan?
Doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Always exciting on these Wednesday nights.
Yep.
I do look forward to these. So it's always fun to talk Pokemon.
Yeah, it's nice to have a regularly scheduled chat.
Yeah, for sure. So, as with every episode, we'll start off with the viewer questions, questions that people sent us in the last podcast. So, if you guys do have any questions for the next episode, make sure to leave them in the comment section below, and we'll pick out a few of the best ones and answer them within the following episode. Fortunately, right now we don't have too many questions, so we're able to answer everyone's. But hopefully, going forward, we'll be able to kind of pick and choose the best ones if we get more questions. But anyway, first question for tonight is from Daniel C. He asks, international shipping is intimidating. Yes, it is. Can you list the different options you both recommend and go over their pros and cons? If it helps, I'm mostly shipping singles, graded cards, and eventually sealed product. If you feel up to it, the bonus question would be, which countries do you never recommend shipping to? So, for me personally, international shipping is definitely intimidating just because the tracking on international packages can be a bit sporadic depending upon which country you're actually shipping to and all that. But for me personally, I handle all of my international shipments myself. I don't use eBay's global shipping program, or they have a new program which I don't really understand, but I don't use that one either. So I ship everything internationally myself, and it works out. I think it works out well for me, just because I think it's cheaper for eBay buyers to pay the shipping to the actual seller versus pay the shipping to eBay, essentially with the GSP program. So I think it helps increase sales a little bit because it's a little bit cheaper for international buyers to buy from sellers who ship internationally themselves versus use the GSP program. Obviously, there's a lot more risk involved with that. The GSP program definitely helps protect sellers because you're only shipping domestically. So depends on your own type of situation. If you're looking for the safest option available, GSP program all the way. If you're looking to ship yourself, I would definitely go that route. In terms of like which shipping method to choose, for me personally, anything that's speaking for international, anything that's going international that's $1,000 and below, I just use USPS, whether that be first class mail or priority mail. And then anything that's above $1,000, I'll actually switch to FedEx, either FedEx Priority, FedEx Express, depending upon the value. Because with those high value items, I think FedEx does a much better job at getting the item to the buyer quicker and safer, as well as giving you updates along the way with the tracking. And then the final portion of this question, in terms of which countries do you recommend shipping to versus not shipping to, I personally just copied what Rusty TCA Gaming had. He has a whole list of countries that he does not ship to, and he said he's had problems with every single one of those countries, or at least most of those countries. So I just copied his list. I'd recommend doing the same. If I were you, you could either go on to my eBay store and click on one of the listings, and you'll see every country I don't ship to, or go to one of his listings and you'll see the same information there. So that's what I'd recommend for that.
I'm assuming Italy is one of the standout notorious ones.
Yes. Yep. Italy's one of them.
I've not personally had issues shipping to Italy. I guess I'll get into the fact that I only use GSP on eBay. So I've not had issues shipping internationally anywhere because my job is just to get it to Erlanger, Kentucky, eBay's GSP warehouse, and then they take everything. So that's my answer to the question. I ship weekly several items. A large portion of my buyer pool is international buyers that use the GSP. I know that it gets quite a few complaints around the internet. I think a lot of buyers don't like the full declaration, the collecting the customs or VAT fees up front. But from my end, it's just clean, quick, easy, and I do have a lot of buyers. So if you're nervous about it, that's just an option that's there. There's really no reason to not enable the GSP because I know some people that want to ship only domestically. They don't want to risk international even through the GSP. Well, it doesn't really make much sense to not capture that potential buyer pool. It may not be the entire buyer pool that someone like Nick gets shipping directly for lower costs, but there's no reason to not capture the GSP reduced buyer pool because there are a lot of people there. I don't know what fraction of my sales it is, but it's significant. I mean, it's well over 10%. Might be a quarter of my sales these days are GSP.
One thing I had for you, one question about GSP. When you list stuff on eBay, do you have to enter the weight and dimensions of the package for everything that you list using the when you use the GSP program?
I really don't know exactly how that works because there's definitely certain items where generally I try to, like an ETB, I ship in a 6x8x10 and it's 3 pounds. It's like 2 and change, but you've got to round it up to 3. Occasionally I screw up, and when I list an ETB, I list it as like a couple ounces. And then occasionally an item like that will sell through the GSP. And I don't know what happens on the other end, but I have never had eBay come back to me and say, hey, this cost us too much to ship overseas. We're taking some from you. So that's a good question. And I remember one time years ago, I actually sold like 50 empty tins, the old style, but it was picture it, 50. It was a big box, not super heavy, but just big. And it went through the GSP, and I want to say they only paid like $40 in shipping or something. And I paid like that much to ship it domestically to get it down to Kentucky. I don't know what eBay did to get that thing overseas, but a month later, 2 months later, whenever it was, I got positive feedback. They got their tins.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't fully understand it. I think they just get like obscene shipping discounts.
That must be part of it.
Yeah, and then just to go in, so eBay, I'm GSP only. I do, for some repeat customers that I have, if anybody reaches out on Instagram, I do occasionally ship directly. And I actually have done it on some higher end items. You mentioned that you do FedEx only above 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
One program that I had really good luck with on some really high end, like 5-figure deals. I used USPS Global Express Guaranteed.
Okay.
I shipped an item. They were about a week or two apart. I shipped one to Germany and one to the UK. And it was about $100 declared low because, the buyer has an incentive to save that 20-25% VAT.
Oh, yeah.
But it was about a 30-hour shipment to Germany, and it was like 36 hours to the UK. It was unbelievable to me how quick, $100, got it there quick, like really, really nice service. If anybody's interested, but the only way I do that is both of those were actually crypto sales. So when the buyer wants to do low declaration, when they want to YOLO it, all the risk goes on them. I'm not going to risk losing a 5-figure item declared for $5.
No, absolutely not.
But, yeah, so that was a good question. I think that's a concern a lot of people have.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So good question by Daniel C. Daniel C, actually, after he asked Nick, he hopped over to my channel and he had another question for us. Do either of you have any stories with buyers where there was a serious situation and you were particularly glad to have a PO box? So this is kind of a follow-up on a question in our last podcast. I think at that time, 2 weeks ago, we talked more about the PO box from the selling side, as far as like your return address goes. I don't know about you, Nick, but I actually ship 95% of my packages that I'm buying on the buying side to my PO box as well.
Oh
Just
yeah.
for the same security reasons, not giving out the address. If I buy from you, if I buy from someone I know, I'm not as concerned about it. So you're the same way then?
The security is definitely a big part of it, but I also like the PO box because my home mail delivery doesn't happen till like 4:30, 5 o'clock every day, where the PO boxes are
9 a.m. or something, you can have
yeah,
it.
9 a.m. So I'm able to pick up whatever I'm getting nice and early. So that's another huge perk for me, at least. I hate having to wait for packages to come in the mail. I'm
Before you,
super impatient.
and you mentioned you had a PO box from very early on because your dad had recommended it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I did not have a PO box the first few years I did it, and I think I mentioned this a little bit in the last podcast, but I used to buy things from like a local brewery, some like beer steins and coasters and things of that nature. There was a time where I had it shipped to my home address. It was like some coasters or something, really, really cheap, under $10. Well, it was one of those situations where it was marked delivered and I didn't get it. Like it wasn't in my mailbox, it wasn't on my porch, it wasn't anywhere. So I ended up opening a return, or no, I think it was marked out for delivery, but not marked delivered. Because if it had been marked delivered, he would have won the case. But it was marked out for delivery, and this guy messaged me. He lived within 20 minutes of me at the time, probably, and he messaged me like, "Hey, why are you scamming me? Don't make me come have a chat with you." And I'm just like, "Hey, dude, I didn't actually get that." And that was one of the things that lent me towards getting a PO box, because 99+% of people are good people. And I mean, even that guy, I think he talked big on the internet through a keyboard, but you don't want to chance anything like that with giving out your home address to more people than you need to. So
Yeah, one other thing with that is this is something that I just semi recently did within the past year or so, was instead of using my actual name for like a return address, I switched it over to just using old school Pokemon.
yep.
And that is because I had he was super weird guy who, there was some, I forget the details, but there was some issue that he was blowing way out of proportion. And so he actually looked me up on Facebook, and I'm terrible about updating my Facebook. Like my high school job was working as a lifeguard at a pool. And so he was able to find me on Facebook, and he said, "Oh, I see you're a lifeguard. I'm gonna call the company and report you for whatever." And so after that, I switched over to just using old school Pokemon with the PO box. So kind of eliminate any personal information.
Yeah, I have. You can put like multiple names on a PO box generally. So I have my business name and my personal name. I probably interchange between them. I should stick more with just catch 'em all collectibles, but yeah, definitely a good added tip there, just to further increase the anonymity.
Yeah, exactly. So my next question is from Ernesto A. He asks, if you had to auction off cards, how would you do it? Any tricks or tips for card auctions? Should I just list it with a buy it now instead? I wanted to cash out, and I'm wondering what's the best way. Thank you. So if you're looking to get top dollar, I would say buy it now with the best offer option. If you're looking to unload your card or collection quickly, then I would go for the auction. You'll still get a decent price for it. Auctions usually do pretty well, but if you want to get the top dollar, definitely buy it now. Best offer. As far as tips and tricks with an auction go, I always list my auctions Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights between like 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's for a 7-day auction, because you want to have the auction ending when you're going to have the most amount of people looking on eBay, which is typically Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights. The worst time for an auction is going to be Monday or Tuesday nights, or even any time Monday and Tuesday. Those are typically the slowest days on eBay. So yeah, you want to have a good start and end time. You want to make your listing so that it's like a legitimate auction, if you will. So by that I mean low starting bid. You don't want to have a starting bid that's 10% below market value. The lower your starting bid, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to be getting eyes on that auction. People are going to be watching that auction, so on and so forth. And then the other thing I would add is I don't even know if eBay does this anymore, because I haven't used it in years. But I would recommend against reserves. I don't think that's a good strategy. So if you're going to do auction, I would do 99 cents, no reserve. That's something I've always done.
Yeah, I'd echo everything Nick just said. I've scooped up, and I don't know who or why someone would do that, but like I've scooped up auctions that ended on a Wednesday morning at 4 a.m. Like I've just put in my bid the night before, and I win something for like half of my max bid. I don't know why someone was up at that hour listing an auction, but keep focus on your end time. I mean, just normal good etiquette for a good listing, good photos, good thorough description, get a good title. Don't forget to put Pokemon card in your title. Don't forget like the key search terms. I think that pretty much covers it. And then for anybody who isn't up for doing it themselves, doesn't want to take the risk, just know that there's like PWCC, there's the consigning options out there too. A lot of people this past year, I think, people that never really intended to sell certain things, kind of the prices got to where, oh man, I should probably sell this. I think a lot of people like don't give selling any bit of a thought. I'm just going to collect for years, never sell anything. Well, then the price runs away and it's like they don't know how to sell. So like being proactive about that is really smart, and it's perfectly fine to just say like I'm not comfortable doing that myself. I'm gonna pay PWCC to do it. So
yeah, exactly. Yep, they're a great option.
Yeah. So Martin had a couple questions. I'll just hit the first one here. Hey, can you guys please talk about how upcharges are calculated by PSA when they decide to upcharge specific cards after grading? I've been hearing a lot of different things online and want to be prepared when I receive that invoice down the line. So PSA is very consistent in that they are inconsistent. I think I shared this with James some time ago, and I think he mentioned it in one of his videos, ZNG. But so I had a recent return a month or so ago, 2 months ago maybe. There was 4 each of PSA 10 first edition Eevees and PSA 10 first edition Pikachus from Jungle, and only half of them got upcharged within the same order. So like I submitted them under the $750 Pokemon special. I think at the time the $200 was the cap on valuation. And months ago these cards peaked at near $1,000. Today they're only high 200s, low 300s, somewhere in there. So it's like they weren't even significantly over the limit at the time, and I only had to pay like a $10 upcharge on them. So, but again, I had 2 of the PSA 10 Pikachus at a chunk in the front of the sub, and then 2 of them at the back. And same with the Eevees, and they just missed half of them. So it's not even like an automated system. I can't imagine. It's a manual thing, and in the same order, I had some cards that were $800-900 in their grades that I got, and they weren't upcharged. So it is just, it's a free for all. Anything goes, horribly inconsistent. That's really all I can say.
Yeah, I've fortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, depending upon how you look at it, I've never been upcharged. I've never had to pay that. So I also got, we got that initial return back around the same time, and the one where you had the four EVs and Pikachu's. I had two EVs that were graded PSA 10, and they didn't say anything to me on those. So I don't know how they figure out who gets upcharged and who doesn't, or what gets upcharged, what doesn't. I feel like if you're submitting like first edition base Charizard or basically anything Charizard that's worth over the value, they're gonna know about it. Anything super popular like that, they're gonna know about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all really all I have for that one. I don't have much experience with that myself, luckily.
All my recent returns have had at least one upcharge, but these are large, like 200 card, 400 card returns. But yeah, I think of my last 5 subs, I think I've had at least one upcharge on each. And I've had some significant ones too. I think the highest one I've gotten hit with, I graded 2 of the Art Academy Melly Pikachus in PSA 10. I think I did like the $60 per card express, and they hit PSA 10. Well, I was actually being held to my own data point on that one because I had a public sale on eBay several months ago of $6,600 of that card in a PSA 10. So I hit 2 more PSA 10s. They used the $6,600 threshold. I got dinged $600 per card for those.
Ouch!
Yeah.
That hurt.
Yep. So, I mean, like you said, stand out, really rare, well-known things. I mean, the Art Academies are a little bit niche, but PSA caught those.
Yeah. That's unfortunate right there.
Yeah. But, I mean, it was nice to hit the 10s for sure, but
That is true. That is true.
it's like it's a bittersweet thing when you get those upcharges.
Oh, absolutely. So my next question is from Mini Lopo 18. His question is: PSA pop reports are used as a measure of a graded card's scarcity. What do you guys think will happen when CGC releases its own pop reports? Will people start aggregating the two? Will it generally affect the market, especially for types of cards sent more to CGC due to the quicker turnaround time they used to have? Yeah, they definitely used to have a quicker turnaround time. Not so much anymore. For me, I cannot wait until CGC introduces a pop report. I hope they do soon. Because I like looking at the pop reports and kind of following certain cards. So I can't wait till they do introduce it. And as far as the question goes, I think people will start kind of comparing PSA pop report with CGC pop report to kind of get an overall feel on how many of a certain card are of a certain grade. Because I do think PSA and CGC have similar grading standards. Obviously, like CGC 10 is a lot tougher than PSA 10, but overall, I think the grading standards are pretty similar between PSA and CGC. So I think people will start to not like fully use those two pop reports together to get a definite answer, but I do think people will use the two pop reports to kind of get a general feel on how many of those cards are out there and available in a certain grade.
One thing I hadn't thought about until I heard you like answering the question, but one thing that will be really interesting, so say next year, or maybe say we get the pop report next year and the inevitable gold, shiny, GX, whatever Charizard comes out. It'll be really interesting to see, say CGC gets 5,000 of them, PSA gets 5,000 of them. Presumably, relatively similar condition cards should be going to each if they're all pack fresh, right? It'll be interesting just to see, like, well, at PSA, it's 90% PSA 10, 10% PSA 9. It'll be interesting to see what the same card splits at PSA versus CGC. You almost might be able to get an idea of like what percent of PSA 10s are CGC 10s. You know what I'm saying? That's actually something I hadn't really thought about, but
I hadn't thought of that either. That's a real good point there.
I think that'll be really interesting to see. And I do think, I mean, I love data. There's a lot of people out there that love data. There's some really, really interesting sites. There's Pokemon Price. There's other ones in the works. I think there'll be a lot of people aggregating the two. One other effect that I did kind of think about beforehand is some guys are just PSA guys, and some people are CGC only, brand loyal. In some ways, cards will almost seem artificially more rare because, like, oh, well, the PSA pop of this is only 50, and PSA is the only thing that exists in my little bubble. They'll be disregarding the gem mint cards at CGC and BGS, and I mean, there's so many different 3-letter acronyms out there too now. So, like, in a way, since there's so much more competition and so many other options, PSA pop reports will be held a little bit artificially low. I've never been someone who's like really caring about the pop too much. I mean, a lot of my collection is set cards where the pops are relatively high anyways, but interesting thought.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm sure someone out there will be looking at the data from every angle, every which way. But yeah, that's a good, interesting question. Here's another one on grading. This is the second half of Pokey Martin's question. He said he's also very curious as to the formula BGS and CGC use when they calculate a final grade based off subgrades, since I know surface has different weight than centering, for example. So I did a little research on this earlier today. I don't believe either CGC or BGS has like completely publicized how the algorithm works, but there's so many cards out there for both of them. People have kind of worked out the way that it generally works. So starting from the top end, I mean, BGS has the black label, CGC has the perfect 10, 10s across the board. That's the only way to get them. Not pristines. So CGC 10 pristine, 3 10s and a 9.5. I mean, there's 4 ways for that to happen. Same thing with BGS, 3 10s and a 9.5. Once you get down to the lower grades, naturally there's more ways to make it happen. So the 9.5, I think if you get like 3 10s and an 8.5, I think that turns into a 9, and maybe that's dependent on which subgrade is the 9, but it's not like a simple average. I mean, the mathematical average of 10 10 10 8.5 would be a 9.5, or at least it would round to that, but that's not the way it works exactly. So it is a bit strange there. I think generally speaking, you can't be more than 1 point above the lowest subgrade, but then there's like some outlier circumstances where sometimes it's like half a point higher than the lowest, sometimes it's a full point higher than the lowest. But yeah, I don't know if you have any additional insight into that.
No, I think you pretty much answered everything there was to know about that. Yeah, the only thing I was going to say was echo what you just said about the overall grade can only be between half a point and a point above the lowest subgrade. But it is, I am curious as to how, like, how does CGC determine their overall grade if you don't get the subgrades? Yet when you do get the subgrades, they say it takes longer for them to grade it, because they have a increased handling time of 5 days when you do get the subgrades. So that I have no idea on that one.
That's a really, really interesting question, and kind of a dangerous one that I've thought quite a bit on too, because if I were CGC, I would want to nip that in the bud, and I would want to say, like, our subgrade service is the same as our non-subgrade service. We're just not putting it on a label. But I personally have a little bit of a concern that they might not be exactly the same. Theoretically, I think they are, and I think if they were asked, they would say that. But I do know that you cannot get. I'm not positive of this either, but supposedly, if you send to BGS, I've heard that if your car is a black label, they'll add on the subgrades for you, and you'll get the black label with all 410s if it's worthy of it. At CGC, as far as I understand, you cannot get a perfect 10. The only thing that exists with no subgrades is a pristine 10. Theoretically, it could have been a perfect card, all 410s, but they will just give you, if you do no subgrades, you'll just get the pristine 10. That's like anecdotal things that I've heard. I've not personally experienced that, but it is a really interesting question. I'm not too happy with the way that CGC charges such a premium to get the subgrades on that. Presumably, the only difference is, like, they're calculating them. They're just not showing you them. It's a little bit of ink for those 4 numbers. Why is that $7? Unless
that I will never understand.
Do you know an entirely different service, and then that's concerning for a different reason. So
yeah, exactly. Do you have any experience with BGS? How much extra they charge for subgrades? Do you know?
I've only done limited submissions to BGS, and I've always done the subgrades. I don't remember how much it is. And I think their fees are a lot higher than they used to be too. Just like
oh yeah, for sure.
I think they're shut down just like PSA is right now too for all service levels. But yeah, I wish.
No, I'll have to look that up after. It probably won't even show it now that they're shut down, but that's something I'll look up whenever I can. I'd be curious to know how much they charge for subgrades. I think their CGC's. I think they. Is it 7 or 8 now, or did they raise it from 7 or 8? I forget, but subgrades are expensive with CGC right now.
Yeah, I want to say it's. I haven't sent cards out since the latest increase, but I want to say it's 7. Maybe it's more. Either way, it feels like it's a lot. It's what
it is a lot. It's like half the cost of grading.
It's what a few months ago you could just grade the entire card for at PSA with everything. And but I personally, I mean, I've sent some cards out recently. My most recent one before their price increase, I sent out like 1,000 cards, no subgrades. But I'm not a huge fan of that option. I just wish CGC and BGS, their distinguishing thing is the subgrades. I wish it was just, we have one service that comes with subgrades and this is the price. Like, pick a price in between the two. So you're charging this with subgrades, you're charging this without. Go somewhere in the middle and just try. Every card has subgrades. Yeah, that's what I wish they would have done. Not happening. So
yeah. No, I actually not to get off on too much of a tangent, but I actually just got back a small CGC submission or CGC return, and it does look so much better with the subgrades versus without subgrades. It's a night and day difference. It just like the label just looks too empty without subgrades.
Yeah.
But there's, you don't have anything to add to that question, do you?
No, I think that's everything.
Yeah. So next question I have is from Andrew M. Question: in your opinion, when, if ever, is it more optimal to get a card graded at PSA, getting an authentic label, or getting a card graded at PSA versus getting an authentic label at PSA? A specific anecdote: I have a fairly rare Japanese trophy card, but it will likely not grade above a 6. So I thought, for whatever reason, we were finally going to be able to disagree on this question, but it doesn't seem like that'll be the case. So for me personally, I don't think it's ever worth it to get a authentic grade on a card that you're submitting to PSA. I think it's always more beneficial to get that card actually graded and have that number designation of the grade, even if it is going to be a lower grade. So like in your example, even if it is going to be lower than a 6, I'd rather purchase a card that has a PSA 2, 3, 4, whatever, versus something that just says authentic. Because then you really don't know what the grade is, or if there's any type of damage that you can't see within the pictures. So for me personally, I guess I could say as a buyer, I'd always rather the actual grade versus authentic. But as a seller, I might opt for the authentic versus the actual number grade.
I've heard people make the argument that it's a cleaner look, it's more, there'll be more marketability for it, but I'm just too stuck on same thing on the buyer side. If I see an authentic label, I'm assuming the worst. I'm assuming
Yep.
PSA 1. So it's like I don't understand paying PSA for their full thing. You're paying the same whether you get the grade or whether you get authentic. Just take the data, take the information.
Yeah.
Take that so that you have it, so that you can share it with the buyer. I kind of get what you're saying as far as the selling side. If it's a low grade, more people will like authentic better. I've never used the service. I never will. I've never bought an authentic card only. I don't think I ever will. I'd rather buy a PSA 3 or 2, like you said.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because then I have more of an idea of what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I'm the same way. And I think you'd have more people that would agree with that statement, where they'd rather have the grade than inauthentic.
And to go further than that, I guess if I had that beat of a copy, PSA tends to just throw things down in the lower grades. I think their lower grades are less defined, and I think cards of that nature, for multiple reasons. I mean, this is described as a Japanese trophy card. That's fairly broad. It could be a Mysterious Pearl. Some people call those trophy cards. It could be a 1998 Pikachu #1. But I think a card like this specifically does better at CGC with subgrades. One, because you can walk it through at CGC for $125, whereas if it's a 1998 Pikachu, even in PSA 2 condition, that card might be 5 figures. I mean, definitely 5 figures, maybe 6 figures. You're going to be paying thousands of dollars to grade it with PSA to put an authentic label on it. I would say pay $125, go with CGC, and then you'll get like, hey, this is a 9 centering. This is 7 edges, 8 corners, and then maybe it's got a little crease, so it's a 3 surface or a 4 surface. So I think just anecdotally what I've seen, cards that would be PSA 2s, PSA 5s, occasionally they can end up as a couple points higher at CGC. And then you get those subgrades. You get to specifically see, like, you give more information to the buyer. So I'm all about getting that information, knowing where and why, how it got the grade. So
that's a good point, actually. Have you ever seen a CGC 1?
No. And I have sent some beat cards. I think the lowest I've ever personally got, I think I have a CGC 4 no rarity Charizard. I think it's actually going live on PWCC this month.
nice little plug there.
Yeah. So I mean, that card likely would have been a PSA 1 or 2, I think, and I think it got the CGC 4 because the lowest subgrade might have been a 3 on surface or something from creases.
Yeah. See, I saw one. I didn't have it. I just saw pictures of it. But I saw one CGC 1, and the thing was beat to all heck. It was absolutely destroyed. So I think CGC. it is beneficial if you have something that's beat up, send to CGC versus PSA, because PSA 1 could be CGC 2, 3, 4, something along those lines. So definitely beneficial there. I hadn't thought of that. So then the last question is from Matthew B. He asks, what are things we can use to get some understanding of how much sealed Japanese vintage product is remaining in the world? I have been using eBay, Yahoo Japan listings, as well as loose correlations to graded card population reports, but I'm curious if there are other sources of information or thought processes. I'm also interested if there is any reason to believe that the numbers between Japanese and English differ significantly. That's an interesting question. My answer to that would be, I don't think we'll ever have a really solid understanding of print numbers. I really wish we did. That'd be awesome information to know. But I don't think it's ever going to happen, because we've gone 25 years without that information. And I know that there's a lot of people who are trying to find that information. You always see those types of threads on E4 about trying to estimate the print numbers, and nobody's ever come forward with some solid details in terms of how many base set boxes were printed. So I think just like what you said, eBay, Yahoo Japan, looking at these different sites to see what's available, looking at the pop reports to see what's been graded. But even that, you're never going to be able to get a good understanding, because there's still so much product that's just sitting in people's closets that they may or may not even know about. So yeah, I don't think we'll ever get a true accurate understanding. But as far as the second part of that question, between the print numbers for Japanese and English, I've actually never thought about that, but I would imagine English has much higher print numbers than Japanese, just because the population of the United States versus the population of Japan. Japan's a lot smaller than the United States is. So I would imagine, I have no idea, but I would imagine Japanese is a lot more limited than English. But you also have less collectors of Japanese versus English, so I think it kind of balances out a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I'll echo everything you said. The way that you answered it, you kind of came more from the angle of like production numbers, and the way that he posed the question was how much is remaining. So like you spoke a lot to the difficulty in determining the relative production quantity differences, which is an impossible question. And then his question went to the next level of like, not how much was produced, but how much is remaining. So like starting at an impossible question, refining it down to the next level, it's impossible squared. Because some of these, I don't know specifically what you're speaking to, but I'm more familiar with English. So let's say Legendary Collection. I mean, I think Whatnot recently broke one or is breaking one soon, but you just don't see, I mean, Fossil and Jungle, you see those things every day being broken somewhere, being auctioned, whatever, available on eBay. But some of these more obscure sets, you're just not seeing them at all. And to know how many, I think the answer for almost everything, maybe surprisingly to some, is probably like higher than you think. Even though these boxes don't come up often, I think the people who have them generally don't want to be loud about having multiple if they do. But yeah, it's just, you can track, oh, well, 3 sold last year, 5 sold the year before that. How you can kind of try to keep track, searching YouTube, how many are being opened, how many are being sold on eBay, but that's only going to tell you how many are being sold at any given time. Some guy might have 10 cases that he decides to retire and sell them all at once, and then there might not be another sale for a couple years. It's all impossible.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But interesting too. We'll never know.
I don't think we will. I don't think we will. What do you think about that second part? More Japanese than English, or more English than Japanese?
Like you said, I think that there would definitely be more English just in general. I mean, going back years and years, like the vintage that the question targeted, I don't see a ton of like Japanese based boxes. I mean, I've seen some openings of that. I've seen some sales, but like base unlimited English is quite available,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
quite a bit more. Relative percentages, I wouldn't even want to guess, but I think
I have no idea on that.
I think it's relatively significantly more English than Japanese, but complete guess.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions we got for this week. So hopefully you
Quite a
guys
few.
enjoyed the answers to those. What'd you say there?
Quite a few we had this week.
Yeah, we had a lot more than last week.
Yeah.
So again, if you guys do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or on my account or Dan's account, or you can pull it Daniel C and post a question on both accounts.
Yeah.
So got a few other topics to kind of talk about tonight. Just some talking points, really. One thing that I wanted to bring up was this. First off, Collecticon is happening for the second time, June 26th and 27th. I originally wasn't going to go to it, but I'm now going to it, so it's going to be an awesome time. I had an absolute blast at the first one, so hopefully this one will be the same. Seems like it's going to be a lot bigger. But the one thing I wanted to bring up involving these type of Pokemon events is whether or not there's too many of them right now. Because I don't know if it's just me like doing Google searches for these events and me just never realizing that these were actual things in the past, but I am constantly seeing Instagram ads for different Pokemon related Comic-Con type events popping up all over right now. Like I know there's Collecticon in June. There's one in Galveston in August. Then there's one in Stewart, Florida, the end of August. Then there's another one in Tampa, the beginning of September. And I'm sure there's others out there that I just don't know about. So I don't know. I didn't know if you had any thoughts to add to that, but I kind of think they're getting to be a little bit too much. I think they should kind of space them out a little bit, or I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
I think obviously we're at an unprecedented period in the hobby as far as the amount of people involved in it, the amount of money involved in it, and regulations are either relaxing or just gone in a lot of places now from the pandemic. So I think it's kind of natural that for a year everyone was forced to stay in their homes, that you're going to go out and throw all the parties you can, all the conventions. And so it's not too surprising for me. I mean, personally, I'm not going to be making any events this year. I really do look forward to getting back to them. Worlds next year, and hopefully some key events. I think in the coming years, you'll kind of see, and I didn't go to the last Collecticon, but I think a lot of these are sports cards conventions that are just tying in fairly significant amounts of Pokemon. But I like the thought of in the future, not just having like Worlds. Like I went to Worlds 2018, 2019. I did go to the Hartford Collectors event. That was a regional Pokemon tournament. But it would be cool if 3 or 4 times a year there was this decently sized. I'm pretty specific to Pokemon only. I don't really do the other TCGs. I don't do sports, so the possibility of having a quarterly big event to go to is really attractive to me. It's something that I'd really look forward to. So if it gets to where every month something's going on, it's not something I'm personally going to be trying to go to all of them. I guess you do. I'd rather there be 3 or 4 big ones so that you get like bigger attendance to those. And if you've got one every month, well, a handful of people will go to every one, but you won't really have that big crew for as many of them. But I think Worlds is, at least for Pokemon specific, Worlds is always going to be attended the largest by kind of our circle of friends and associates. And
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's just I do hope it kind of settles out where we can have these events maybe like every quarter, like you said. That'd be cool. Like go to 3-4 a year, and then have Worlds in addition to that. But this like once a month type thing is ridiculous, because you can't possibly go to every single one of those events.
Some people do. Not me, definitely.
No, I wouldn't be able to go every single month, but I do hope it continues where like once a quarter there's a big Pokemon related event or something like that. And then obviously Worlds, that's always a great time right there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to thought that'd be a interesting one.
Yeah, I mean the timing of it too for our next podcast in 2 weeks, that'll be very fresh.
Yes.
It'll be a few days after that weekend, so you'll
Yep.
have a lot of stories for us, I'm sure, in the next podcast.
Oh yeah. That'll definitely be fun. It's always fun hanging out with Gem Min Pokemon.
Yeah, he released some videos recently too, where he talked a little bit about he talked about the pack that he wanted to buy, and then you stole it. you took his pack that had the Blastoise or Venusaur?
Blastoise, yeah.
Blastoise, that's right.
It was a Venusaur pack art, and I pulled
that's right.
Yep.
And then he got stuck with just a Clefairy.
Yeah, no, that was funny, because he actually the guy who was selling those packs didn't want to take PayPal or Venmo or anything aside from cash, and I never carry cash with me. So luckily he had cash, so he's the one who actually bought those packs, and I paid him back later, obviously. But
you took his Blastoise. Yeah, going to events like that, I mean, I think you've got it's tough with what the prices are these days for certain things, because I mean, when you're flying, theoretically there's restrictions, and there's certain amounts that you need to declare, and I don't know what some people are doing, just driving or flying around with 6 figures in cash in a duffel bag. It's definitely a different world right now as far as like the dollar amounts, some of these things.
oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know how people could carry cash around. I just I recently bought a collection for 10,500, and it was actually a local meetup. Or the guy flew out to Boston, and we met up and did the deal there. But excuse me, I was so nervous carrying $10,000 around with me. I did not like that feeling at all. It was pretty cool to hold a stack of $100 bills, but aside from that, it was pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Yeah, and now it's like, I mean, when I went to Worlds 2019, I mean, I went down with some cash, and I was able to make a deal on a trophy Pikachu. But just thinking about like Worlds 2022, now you're looking at international flights, what the prices have done on those things. It's going to be a different, just a whole different scenario, trying to potentially make plays on big cards like that in person.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are going to be a lot more expensive.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk just traveling with the money to potentially have a shot at buying some big items. It's definitely interesting.
And then the other thing to think of is, are people going to want to take U.S. dollars where the next World's happening in London? Are they going to want like the pound or something? Because that would make the price so much higher.
Yeah, I think obviously everyone's going to be different, but I think the U.S. dollar, I mean, it's kind of like the world reserve currency. It's pretty generally accepted. But yeah, you might get it depends. A lot of it depends on the nationality of the winner, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think a lot of the Japanese sellers, a lot of the Japanese winners, I've heard Japanese when a Japanese winner gets a card, they're a lot less likely to sell it. But I'm pretty confident that there must have been scenarios where in years past a Japanese person would win and then sell it for USD. I mean, sell it for US dollars.
Yeah.
So you're either going to want to have US dollars or pounds. Yeah, because they're not on the euro, right? They're
they're over there on their own currency.
yeah.
That's making the US dollar look bad. Exchange rate's brutal. The other one that I wanted to the overall like market. I personally think that it's starting to steady out a bit. We're starting to see a little bit more consistency with the pricing. Obviously, stuff is still on the downward trend, but it's not as dramatic as it was back a month or so ago. So I do like that fact that I hope pricing does kind of steady out where it is right now. I do think certain things can continue to decline a bit, but overall, I think we're kind of steadying out a bit. And then, in addition to that, I've also been having more collection purchase opportunities come up which I think is because of pricing kind of steadying out a bit and people not being as hesitant to sell their collection, worrying that it's going to increase 10x in a week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just weird. I think too many people generalize. I mean, a lot of bubble talk, the whole bubble's burst, everything's crashing or everything's already crashed. And every week, at least the past several, I'm selling some items for 50% of what they sold for several months ago. Some of the WotC stuff, but I'm selling some stuff at record prices too. Actually, one topic that we kind of cover occasionally is what are we buying, what are we selling in our podcast, and it ties in well with this. Like I actually decided to part with I had a complete ETB collection. And over the past few weeks, I've parted with that, and I've sold a lot of the heavy hitters: Plasma Storm, Plasma Blast, Phantom Forces, Furious Fist, and I'm getting at or near record prices. Some of these boxes are ones that I bought duplicates of less than a year ago, and they're up 4 or 5x over this past year. That some WotC has fallen 80%. So it's really the market is very broad. It's very diverse. Some cards are down 80-90%. Some cards are up 5x in the past 8 months since Logan Paul, right? So it's all over the place. I think there's always opportunity. There's always somewhere to get value. That's what I'm always trying to do. I'm always trying to sell what the market values more than I do, and I'm always trying to buy where I think we've either not gone up enough yet or we went down too much. And I'm always mentally like accounting for things as trades. Selling my PSA 10 EVs for $1,000 last year and buying better things with the proceeds.
That's a good way to do it right there, for sure. Have you been buying anything since the last time we spoke?
I
Oh boy.
I spent
Tough subject there.
I spent a lot of money in May. I think your sales, you do your monthly breakdown video, right? I think
Yeah.
you spent very little, so you made a lot.
Mm.
Thankfully, I don't do monthly breakdown videos because I'd probably have a breakdown over how much I spent in May. I had some big opportunities. I bought, you'll see anybody who's following my channel, there were some videos where I showed some of the mysterious pearls that I bought raw. They were good buys. I bought some other trophy tier items. I bought some sealed product. So I'm, as I said, I'm trying to sell out of things that either the market just got too high on for my taste, and um, again, I cracked some boxes too. I cracked a jungle and fossil box. Fossil might have
Nice.
been in April,
Yeah, I
but
think the
just
fossil was April.
for old times' sakes, I had to crack a couple more boxes. So get some. I really like the new pack cases at PSA, so I wanted to get some inventory while having a little bit of fun. I wanted to
Yeah,
get
there you
some
go.
packs to grade with them. So yeah, there's always stuff to buy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I bought I did that in-person deal. That was an awesome binder collection. A lot of first edition Jim, Neo, a couple of gold stars. There was one of the first edition Stain Hitmonlees, Ghost Stamp Pikachu, and then everything in the collection was really good condition. Majority of it was near mint. There were a handful that were mint condition that I'll be grading. But I did a whole video on that collection, which I'll be uploading within a week or so. And then I also bought 375 legendary birds, like the sealed promos, for $10 a piece, which I thought that was a decent price. They're going for like 15 to $20 individually on eBay. So I'm gonna probably grade a majority of those, and then sell them in the 3-card sets with a few of them too. But I can't believe the pricing on the Black Star promos, because those cards used to be so cheap. I remember trying to sell the sealed Etni, however you say it. I can
Entei.
never say that name right.
Yeah.
But I remember trying to sell that sealed in lots of 25 for like 19.99, and I could not sell them.
Yeah, some of the WotC promos, the Black Star promos are really, I mean, I know Rusty talks a lot about like the bricks he has, 1,000-card bricks, and I have a couple, but there are so many. I mean, 20 years later, there are 1,000-card bricks of a lot of these. So, and some of the cards graded especially are selling for really high prices when they're mint sealed still. Those are a really shocking thing to me too. That goes back to some of the opportunities that are out there. You need to be careful for sure looking at the graded prices today. Any card you newly get in your hand that you like, if you're thinking that you want to grade something for $10 a card, that might not happen for 5 years. If you're thinking you want to, if you're thinking you want to grade something for 20-25 a card, it might reopen within the next year, but you're not going to see it back in your hands for at least 2, I don't think. Best case at PSA, that is. We're really at an unprecedented time as far as like, which almost, if you've got a long-term outlook, which I do, I plan to be here in 10 years. I plan to be here in 20 years. So you've got to be careful about it, but there might be some big opportunities out there to buy collections, the kind of collections that need to be graded eventually to get the real premium. But since those sellers don't really have the option to quickly grade them and sell them themselves, as a buyer, maybe you can get more of a bargain just taking on that risk, I guess. There is a fair bit of risk in that because
Oh yeah.
depending on what you're buying, if the prices continue down significantly on whatever you're buying, definitely a unique and interesting time to be participating, whether you're buying, whether you're selling. It's just a really exciting time at all times lately.
That's like I actually just did a video on this as well. I bought a collection in late February, and part of that collection had 6 unlimited base set Charizards. 5 of the 6 were in really good condition, like mint condition. So I paid $500 a piece on those Charizards. And fast forward to today, I got the grades back. I submitted them into CGC, and I got there was one Charizard that was kind of beat up. That one got a 5, and then I got 4 8.5s and 1 9. So I think I'll do decent, but it won't be anywhere near what I could have done if the pricing had remained consistent throughout that time.
Yeah.
So that just goes even in a 3-4 month period. Pricing can drastically change on you. So there is a good bit of risk there when you're buying raw collections and sending the cards off to be graded. The seller definitely takes a good bit of risk doing that, but you could end up making a huge payday as well.
Yeah, it's just so much. Like years ago, I can't wait to get back into buying more collections. I do plan to do that in the coming months, but I haven't done it really significantly in years. And back then it was like you'd figure out what the cards were selling for. You knew what the grading fee was. You knew that you'd get them back in a few months. But now you're like you've got to have a 2+ year horizon, unless you're looking at super high end stuff where you can just pay the $300 per card. I mean, if you're buying complete mint Shining Neo Destiny first editions, if you're buying complete mint Gem Mint Gold Star sets, you can grade not even all of those right now, but a lot of them. But yeah, it's a really, really interesting time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, that's all I had for tonight. I don't know if do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's it. I did have the little note at the end.
Oh, you gotta read that one.
Yeah. So our next podcast, 2 weeks from today, is June 30th. The day that the next one will go live should be July 1st. When PSA reopens, right? I still see so much talk out there where people are kind of working under the assumption that PSA is going to fully reopen July 1st. I would not be shocked if they said, hey, we've looked at the numbers, we've evaluated that, we've determined that we cannot open Express or whatever the next one down is. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I know that I haven't sent anything to them at $300 per card personally since they shut down, but I do have a small handful of cards I'll be sending at $200 if that opens, and if $150 opens. And I do not see. I mean, I've seen some people saying $50 a card is going to reopen on July 1st or $100 a card. I do not see anything under $150, and I think if they go that low, you might see a backpedal. Is it Nat Turner or Nate Turner? Nat Turner, I think, right?
Yeah.
He was on a podcast recently, and he mentioned that they're going to keep a close eye on it, and I hope they do. If and when they open a tier, and then they see a tsunami or avalanche of cards, whatever they've called it, that exceeds, if on a daily basis they're exceeding their daily output, they need to be ready to quickly either bump the price up or just rescind that tier. They can't be adding to the backlog anytime. I mean, anytime within the next year, they can't have days where more cards are coming in, they're putting out. So, yeah. So unfortunately, the timing of our next podcast, there probably won't be any new news on that, but it'll be like the day after, and then 2 podcasts from now, we'll be able to potentially discuss what reopened, whether or not a tsunami came in and they had to backpedal, and that's going to be every podcast is going to touch on the grading situation, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that's the hot topic.
You can see tonight that grading, I mean, CGC, PSA, BGS, they all came up in the questions, and I think that's going to be a continual topic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were talking earlier before we started recording, and I had almost forgotten that the initial email they sent out when they initially shut down, they had stated they're going to I forget how they worded it, but basically they're going to one by one they're going to add new tiers and bring back new tiers until all tiers are available by July 1st. I forgot they said all tiers available by July 1st. And I don't know who came up with that email, or if they do you think they realistically expected to open all tiers by July 1st? I can't see them saying, "Oh yeah, we'll be able to clear this backlog out in 3 months."
While you were talking, I actually just pulled it up because I had it in another tab. So on March 30th, this is the exact quote from the email. We will take a tiered approach to reintroducing these service levels. So they did talk about tiered. They talk about not doing it all at once. But then the second statement is, our goal is to bring all suspended service levels back by July 1st, 2021. So what they're saying today is that they're going to do a tiered approach with the first one reopening on July 1st. What they had said on May 30th or March 30th was that they'll do a tiered approach and all will be done. Maybe they didn't proofread it. Maybe they mistyped, misspoke, whatever. But there's no way that any reasonable person who knew what was going on at PSA, I mean, especially someone who works there, there's no way that could have been a sincere, reasonable statement to be made. Like I said, it's still so widespread, the fact that, I mean, people think that we're going to go like back to normal, like poof, 2 weeks from today, the backlog's gone. You can grade a card in 3 months for $20, $10. It's not going to happen. The reason that I had this other tab with this specific quote up, I'm working on a future video where I try to temper people's expectations, taking some of the numbers that PSA themselves told us. We're in a multi-year situation that they're going to have to dig themselves out of.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And everyone's affected while they get it sorted. There's a lot of cards there.
Oh yeah. I'm wondering though if put my tinfoil hat on, if they sent that purposely, that they were going to have everything reopened by July 1st to kind of string people along into thinking, it's only 3 months. I'll just hold off on submitting any cards, and then come July 1st, I'll send them off to PSA. I can kind of see that side of the argument.
Maybe
where they're just hoping people won't go to these other options that are available, BGS, CGC, whatever.
If that is the case, it's so short-sighted, because there's just going to be a lot of ticked off people when July 1st they reopen and it's $250 or $200, and
Exactly.
yeah, I don't know. But
It is interesting. It'll be. I'm curious to see what'll happen come July 1st.
yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to follow all the developments, and
Yeah.
I'm sticking by my, I think I've said it multiple times by now, but there will not be a tier opened this year for $100 a card or less. And if they do, I think they get a surge to the extent that they have to backpedal from it. And the only exception to that, I think, like, I mean, they could open up $10 a card if they wanted to. We know they're insane. So if they wanted to just literally grow the backlog to 5 years, so that would be the exception. I could be proven wrong if they open $20 per card on July 1st and they just say like, hey, the backlog is going to be 5 years to 10 years. It would be idiotic, but I mean, they've done some idiotic things already, I think.
Oh yeah, they've already dug a pretty deep hole.
They were taking cards 4 months ago for $10 a card. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy to say that and still think that, but that is the case.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll never know what they were thinking there. But that's all I've got for tonight.
Yeah, I think that is everything I had too. So as Nick said earlier, feel free to leave any questions for next podcast in the comments below. And hopefully you enjoyed the listen here. Anybody who's stuck around this long, feel free to leave a like. If you listen this long, you must have liked it. I mean, or maybe you were just too far away from the next video button, but feel free to like and subscribe on whichever channel you're watching this on, and thanks for sticking around with us.
Yeah, it's always a good time.
Yep.
Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
Yep, we'll catch you all later.